the winner of that best 1 minute video. Some of them you see here as our panelists, and Diane will introduce them briefly in a moment. And so that competition is going to be part of the finals event for each of the program, and you'll be voted. You'll get votes to decide who is the winner of the best video, both online throughout a certain period of time and in person during our finals event for each of the programs. So a lot more on the technical details later. One more technical detail that I'll mention. So this video that you'll be producing, just as a reminder to our cohorts, the deadline to submit the video is September 16th. So we're starting well in advance to give you a lot of time to play around, create your video, send it to us for feedback, and so on and so forth. We really want to help you create something that you can take and use well after your time in the program. And so that's the goal. And I think this is a great time to start the actual webinar and talk about how you tell the story and hear from our panelists how they have told the story successfully with their videos. And so without further ado, I want to introduce my colleague, Diane Bowie. Hi, Diane. Diane is the director for the MedTech Innovator main US program, and she will be hosting the webinar today. So Diane, I'll kick this over to you to introduce our panelists and start the webinar.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Ayelet. Folks, most of you have indeed met both Ayelet and myself. We're so excited to see you. I made sure to put in the chat, you can ask your questions in Q&A. We are not actively live streaming this webinar, but we are recording it so that we can put it in the series of our webinars. We are giving you a chance to get used to the program. This is our first webinar and we're excited about it. I am going to stop screen sharing to look at you. It is actually, you know what, I'm going to go back to screen sharing just because that way you have the faces of our panelists there. So coming back, it is my real pleasure to introduce you to 3 winners. And if you only see 2 right now, that is because our third panelist will join us a little bit later. It is my real pleasure to introduce you to 3 past winners of the Best Video Award. So these are MTI and BioTools Innovator alumni who have created great 1-minute videos. And while we give you the homework to watch the video with John Weiser about the storytelling arc, about the art of storytelling for business, this webinar is meant to be practical. How do you do this? And so in order of their winning, first, we have Jerry Sapienza, who is CEO of Opera Biosciences, and he won Best Video for BioTools Innovator last year, 2022. So he has a very recent memory of making that video. Then, not currently here, we'll see her in a minute, and I'll introduce her then one more time, Rijing Jiang, who is CEO and founder of Avisi Technologies. She won Best Video for MedTech Innovator in 2019. And last, certainly not least, Charlie Allen, CEO and founder of My01, who won Best MedTech Innovator Video in 2018. So we're so glad to have you here today. And what I'd like to do before giving you a chance, and I'll start in the order I made the introductions. I will start with Jerry in a second. Jerry, what I'll do is I will show your video so that you can spend less time talking about what your company does, because people will have an idea of what they do. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing this. And this is when we check on technology. Can I do this? Here we go. It is Opera Bioscience. Hold on. There we go. And I'm sharing my screen. This is the one. And hitting start.
Opera Bioscience is on a mission to transform the way we manufacture proteins. These proteins are key to the next generation of products in areas like regenerative medicine, alternative meats, and industrial materials.
The current protein manufacturing technologies face trade-offs between cost, purity, and speed, and that's what's holding researchers back.
Opera designed a bacterial platform to avoid these trade-offs by fully secreting proteins out of the cell in a single step.
The benefit of secretion allows our bacteria to act as a natural assembly line, constantly producing proteins through continuous fermentation. This allows us to deliver low-cost and high-purity proteins at scale.
Opera will manufacture recombinant proteins for the pharmaceutical, food, and materials industries. With our partners, we're going to enable innovation for a healthier and more sustainable future.
All right.
Most people have no clue.
There we go. That was Opera Biosciences video. If you're okay with it, I am going to move straight to Charlie's video, and we'll roll Reging's when she gets here, and then we can both talk about the videos plural. So let me do that and share that. So this is Maya 1's video.
Every year, there are over 500,000 trauma patients that are at risk of developing acute compartment syndrome. High energy trauma causes swelling to build up within the muscle. If it is not diagnosed and operated on within 6 hours, they are at risk of having permanent muscle and nerve damage. 12 hours, and it could lead to amputation.
Maya 1 is an innovative aid designed to reliably and safely assist in the identification of ACS within hours of the trauma.
For my whole career, I've been bothered by the fact that we don't have a good diagnostic tool for acute compartment syndrome. This problem is seen in every emergency room around the world every day. As a trauma surgeon, we rely way too heavily on subjective patient outcomes like pain. We end up operating on way too many patients in order to avoid missing a few cases.
We made Maya 1 to solve that problem. We wanted to translate the technology behind Maya 1 into a device that was simple, reliable, and easy to use. Maya 1 measures perfusion pressure by placing a small sensor within the muscle, similar to the way an IV is applied. Maya 1 quantifies the amount of swelling and relays the data to a cloud-based mobile app, giving the physicians a source they can use when deciding when to intervene. Maya 1 is a simple solution to a dangerous problem.
All right. With that,
All right, I think
sorry about that. You know how it is on YouTube, stopping the next video from playing. So I want to come back to Jerry and give you first an opportunity to introduce yourself. And then I'll give Charlie an opportunity to introduce himself. I just figured showing the video gives people a little bit more of the company, especially as we're talking about the companies. Jerry, mic's yours.
Thanks, Dan. So I am Jerry Sapienza, CEO and co-founder of Opera Bioscience. And as you may have seen in the video, hopefully we explained it well, but we do protein expression using an engineered bacterial system that can fully secrete proteins out of the cell in a single step. So think E. coli, just much, much easier on the downstream processing side. And I originally started the company. I do not come from a scientific background. I'm actually an MBA, and I was connected to two fantastic researchers, one of whom you saw in the video at the very end. The height disparity between us is quite significant. But I was connected with two researchers at Northwestern, where I was also working on my MBA, and fell in love with their technology, and also two great women. So loved working with them and continue to love working with them. So we spun this out into a company. But before that, I was actually in the US Army. I was a helicopter and airplane pilot. So quite a big shift to go from flying aircraft to working on recombinant proteins and bacterial strains.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. And I'd love to give Charlie an opportunity to introduce himself, and then we'll go to Reging.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Charlie Allen. I'm the CEO of Maya 1. I've got an engineering background. I was actually doing a master's at McGill when Dr. Harvey, who's in that video, came up to us with a problem to try to solve this issue he was dealing with around compartment syndrome. I was working on sensors at the time and figured it was a good opportunity to bring that to market. we're a commercial stage company and now with about 60 employees and a sales team that's being deployed in the States. We're about 45 trauma centers in the US now. And technology is being used to save people's limbs and lives. And fun fact, there's been a lot of different steps along the way, but I'm happy to say that I was the first in man with this technology. So I helped lead the way on that side. And actually, Jerry, our technology is being deployed currently with the Special Forces in a few different deployments as we speak.
I always find more overlap between alumni and current cohort companies when I talk to people. And so that is a fun one. Thanks for that. Bridget, we're going to play your video and then give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and your company. I'm going to share here, and it's this.
With good vision, our world looks like this, but 80 million people live with glaucoma. With glaucoma, our world looks more like this.
My name is Rei-Jing Jay, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Avizi Technologies. At Avizi, we're pioneering a next-generation implant called VisiPlate to help patients with glaucoma preserve their vision.
Glaucoma is a disease that affects the optic nerve and causes progressive damage, over a period of months to years.
In eyes with glaucoma, there is an excess buildup of fluid. This is what leads to high pressure and vision loss. Patients today need multiple eye drops per day or implants that are bulky, uncomfortable, or ineffective. VisiPlate lowers eye pressure to help patients retain their vision. VisiPlate is 20 times thinner than a human hair. This allows it to be more effective and more comfortable for patients. VisiPlate works by draining pent-up fluid through a network of microchannels to a secondary pocket in the eye. This lowers eye pressure and protects the optic nerve.
Here at Avizi, our team is committed to helping patients see and see comfortably. Help us create VisiPlate. Help us protect your vision.
That is the classic problem with sharing straight from YouTube. Thank you for that, Rei-Jing. Are you able to share your video? Sometimes we get technical challenges. If you're not, I am happy to let you introduce yourself without video. We can figure that out. There you go. Fantastic. I can see you.
Good to be here with you all. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I had something run over, but wonderful to be here with you. So as background, my name is Rei-Jing, rhymes with Beijing, if that helps you remember. Feel free to reach out if I can ever be of help. And my company is called Avizi Technologies. I think a question was, what stage were you when you made the video? So we were part of the 2019 cohort, and at the time, we were doing animal studies. Our product does not look like the one that was just shown in the video any longer, though the concept remains the same and the indication and all of that are the same. And so that's why in our video, we were very intentional about saying, help us create this device, because we were attracting investors and trying to make sure that we would have enough resources to get to where we are today. We have completed enrollment in our first in human clinical trials. So we've treated over 20 patients around the world with our device. So far, things are looking great, which is, awesome. But we'll see how it goes. So the goal is to get through a special 510(k) route by the end of 2026 and then commercialize here in the United States. In terms of the background of the company, I'm not sure if we should share that now or.
We're doing company introduction so that we can mostly talk about the video afterwards. So you're welcome to tell us more about your company, and I'll give that opportunity to Charlie and Jerry as well in a second. So this is really like, who are you? Who is your company? Besides what we already saw in the video. So I'm glad you kind of went there. If there's something else you want to share, that's great.
Okay, So we were a University of Pennsylvania spin-out company. I started it when I was still a student with some ophthalmologists and engineers there. We went down the classic tech transfer process. So if anyone has questions there, I'm happy to answer that. Licensed out some IP, created new IP, went down the National Science Foundation SBIR route, got funded for phase 1 and phase 2, and then raised some seed financing from angels. So in total, we've had about 7.5 million come into the company. I'm out kind of raising right now for the next stage, which will get us to a US IDE approval. We're targeting a $5 million round there. And yeah, in all, we've stayed lean. We're only 8 people full time. We manufacture in Philadelphia and we are headquartered in Redwood City. So if you're in the Bay Area, definitely hit me up.
That is excellent. Appreciate that. And so this, for me, this is really meant to be a broad discussion. And it's this, because it is really mostly about the video, I do want to give both Charlie and Jerry a chance to say, is there anything, either seeing the other person's video that you thought, hey, I still want to tell you this about my company before I jump into videos?
I'll just add the stage that we're at. So we're pre-seed. We're in the, we just got our NSF phase 1 SBIR grant about 2 weeks ago, on top of another NSF fellowship that Julie, our chief scientific officer, has. So we haven't raised much money, only a tiny bit from university venture fund. But yeah, so early stage. This was in BioTools was kind of, this video was kind of like our, like, hey, we're out there, we exist, like this is how we connect with people. So, and we're very much still trying to narrow down on what our exact product is. And I'd say we still have that challenge a year later, because we can make proteins, which is a very wide area. So we kind of wanted to focus on like the values of the company and the potential of the company in a video rather than like specific niche use case. It was very useful for that.
Great. Appreciate that. Charlie, where you already mentioned you're in, heck, I didn't write it down, a number of clinics and include collaborations with the armed forces. So I think it's important for the team on the call, or for the cohorts on the call, plural, BioTools and MedTech Innovator, to understand the stage of the companies.
Yeah, that's the stage that we're at today, but similar to both the other people talking, we started off the video, especially, like you'll see there were some points where there were voiceovers and edits. That's because the story changes over time. Also, regulatory reasons. Once you're commercial stage, there's certain things you can and can't say. So we had to do a lot of editing and finessing of the video and try to use what we could. Purpose also evolved, but it's been a very valuable tool for us since the beginning, and it's been a useful use of time. So I think it's important to take the time to finesse your story, although the story will continue to evolve as you get more information. Like our product and our device is connected to the cloud, so every patient that gets our device, we learn from, and our systems getting better and better at predicting what's to happen to these patients over time. So that's a little background. And I also was working on glaucoma in my in a project I was doing at Queen's University at the beginning. So familiar with the space. Very interesting technology.
Thanks.
Super. So I think some of the general questions that we've had past companies ask is just really, how did you do it? And more specifically, did you have a script? Did you use a script? Who at your company wrote that script? Or a storyboard? Basically, how did you come up with the idea and the story arc of the video? And I'll just start with Jerry again, because I can.
Yeah, so I wrote our script. There were only 2 of us at the company at the time, so there weren't many of us to work on it. And Julie was deep into finishing up her PhD. So I had kind of drilled down, and let me start by saying that compressing your company into a 1-minute video is challenging. And I had compressed, the company into a 1-minute pitch before, but now you have to shrink it down even further because it's a video. So you really only have 35 or 40 seconds of dialogue that you can actually squeeze in. So I had to parse our talking points even more. And so that made it really critical to focus on, okay, what do we want to convey? So we want to be able to say what our company can do and how that can benefit our customers or society at large. And at that point, it was just writing it down, narrowing it down, and then I ran the script by at least 24 people before I finalized it. And we went with it. And even on the day of, we were making small changes as we kind of read it out loud and we're filming it. And, because you write down a script, but then you also want your personality to be conveyed through the video. It's a very important tool of the video. So it was having each of us hear our individual voice and still kind of convey the points we wanted to get across.
Jing, how about you? Did you write a script? Did you, and who did?
I also wrote the script similar to Jerry. We were 2 people at the time. You only see 3 people in the video. So it was me, my co-founder, and one of our key scientific advisors who was kind enough to allow us to shadow her in her clinic. We were fortunate because we had a prior video done at the university that we kind of chopped up and took some images from, but we did it very low budget. I found a friend from school who liked to do videography. He purchased a fancy lens from Amazon, used it, promptly returned it. There are ways to make it in a low budget way. I think you just have to be willing to ask for help. I'm sure everybody knows somebody who can hold a camera and then do something in iMovie. The script is probably the most important. So we did storyboard it. We came out with little scenes, okay, an introduction of the people is important. An introduction of the problem is critical. Talking about how your product is different is very important. And then your call to action. I think those were the types of things we wanted to incorporate into the video. And at the end of the day, that's what it turned out to be. We used free music. Yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of money on it.
And my team just shared that the music, while I was showing your videos, plural, wasn't always very hearable. So, but we have the links on YouTube, so people can go and watch the video as it is intended to be viewed. With that, I'll hand it over to Charlie. Charlie, you have a ton of animation, so we'll get into what types of tools and other helpers that you use. But I'll still start with the storyboarding. Did you write the story? Did somebody else write the story? How did it work?
So we're engineering background. I tried to write the story, but I had a lot of help. We used an outside group to help with the production of the video. You can see the animations are not something you can just do by yourself. I think maybe today the tools are a little more advanced and a little easier to use. So it is something I guess you can dive into. I would network to try to get some of your people within your network that have that capabilities. That's what we did at our stage. We had a few friends that were in that world, and so we used their help to edit and improve the story and get the animations into the video to make it work well.
And perhaps I'll just stay with you, just because I already poked at animation. Did you have a friend who was good at animation? Did you hire professional help? Who edited the video? Who did the animations?
So we use professionals to do the video. The professionals happen to be friends, so it worked out well for that on that side. It did cost us some money, so I think in total it was around $5,000 to $8,000 to make the video totally. So it's an investment, At the time, we were a small team, so it was a substantial investment for the company. But the return was there in terms of getting your name out there and using this tool. It ended up being what we led with in most presentations, and even today, our sales team, when they go into new hospitals to train them, they'll use that video as a kind of a primer to begin the conversation. And so, that video initially was made in 2018. So you'd think, we're recouping a lot of that investment over time. So I wouldn't shy away from making it professional if you can. And if you can find people that are in your network, or if you need help getting connected to groups that could be helpful from that perspective, happy to do that.
So we're actually now investing in a medical education video for our surgery. And I am working with Professional Studio. So if you have the budget, we got quoted $20,000 for a 50-second video with narration, music, animation from a studio called Microverse. And there are plenty of studios like that out there if you do have the budget for it. So I completely agree. If you do eventually have the capability to invest in it, it's a good investment. Yeah. But if you don't, back in the day we did it. So you can do it scrappy too.
I'm all about being scrappy. So I think you did a great job.
And you can find, I'll add, you can find cheap, scrappy people to do the video that you could pay. So we actually hired a Northwestern undergrad who's a film major, and we went through our network and we went through Northwestern trying to find somebody, and eventually we did get connected via another student that had interned for us earlier in the summer, who had a friend that was doing this and did a fantastic job. I think we paid him $1,500, and then we told him we would give him 20% of any winnings that we got from the contest. So I think he tacked on another $1,000 to that. So in the end, it cost us $2,500 to make a pretty good video that we lead with it on our website. We use it in our in recruiting for when we're hiring people. And I mean, it was a great investment. He did a fantastic job. I will add, if you're using your network, make sure you look at the portfolio of work, because we had a lot of friends and family members who said, yes, I can do this. I'd be happy to do this for $1,500. And then you look at their work and it's not great. Good for them, love them to death. Family's great, friends are great, but make sure you look at their body of work to make sure that they do a really good job. But you can get it done for fairly low cost. Now, I know adding automations and things like that adds a significant amount of workload, but if you just want straight video and subtitles, things like that, it's relatively easy to do on a modest budget.
We did the whole incentive thing too, Jerry. We told our friend, if we win, we'll give you like $1,000, the 10,000. That works very well for your network, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also get, we have at least an hour of B-roll footage that we can use of interviews, and our videographer took us through and did a bunch of questions with both me and Julie, and so we have about an hour of footage that is just saved that we can use down the road, where if we go to a studio that's going to charge us $10,000-$20,000 to make a feature video, we can use some of this footage to cut those costs too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good insight, is not just the final product of the 1 minute, but thinking through what other shots you could use and how they could be helpful to tell your story. So take advantage of the time you have with the videographer and use it the best you can.
Perhaps an almost pedestrian question, but it's important to kind of understand. Rei-Jing, you mentioned that you used free music. I'm kind of just interested in hearing stock pictures, stock music. Did you buy external resources? Did your videographer friend or company you hired suggest resources? How did you go about that?
For the video that was shown, we did not purchase, or we may have purchased some of the images that were later animated, but the music, I recall he deliberately tried to find something that was free. And there are websites and resources to find that. The current studio we're working with, they have access to assets that I presume, they've already paid for or they've developed in-house. So if you're working with a professional group, they'll certainly tell you what they need to purchase or what they already have.
Great. I don't know if Jerry or Charlie want to weigh in on free resources. No is a fine answer. I'll jump to, how long did it take you to make this video? And perhaps, were there separate iterations and did you run it by other people?
I think it's really important to run it by other people. Even before you begin filming, just run the script by people and your general concept. For us, we deliberately try to make it very general. We always intended for it to be on our website. We knew the product would change over time. So if you go back and watch it, you'll notice we focus generally on what glaucoma is, generally on how our device worked. We knew that the core technology is this nanotechnology, so it wasn't going to get much larger, and that's something we could focus on. We knew that it would work a certain way, draining through multiple microchannels instead of through a single lumen tube, so we emphasize that. But so much else has changed, right? But the video hasn't aged because we didn't touch on those things that we thought might change.
Great. Jerry, Charlie, anything on that front? I'd love to hone in on, how long did it take you to make this? How many hours of your involvement, not just the folks who edited the video, but your involvement did it take from planning to execution of that video? Because that's what all of these folks, there's almost 80 people on this call. They will have to do that.
Yeah, I would say it was probably 2 to 3 days of straight effort, but mixed over the course of a month and a half. So I think we had, from the time we found out we had to do the 1-minute video to the time we started filming, was about a month. Filming itself, that was 4 or 5 hours over the course of late morning, afternoon, which wasn't terrible. It was actually a lot of fun. All the prep work was probably just a day's worth of revising the script, running it by people, maybe a little bit longer than that. And then the whole process after it was filmed, I think we got the first draft 2 or 3 weeks later. We made some suggested edits, and then we had the final version a week later. So it was made relatively quickly. One of the time-consuming challenges that I did not anticipate running into. So we did not have our lab up and running when we made this video, so we needed lab space. So we're like, well, let's just use our PI's lab at Northwestern. And we at Northwestern, if you film anything, you need to get their permission, and their website at least says you need to pay them money. We were able to finagle it where we were either just going to film without telling them if they tried to charge us, but in the end they were just like, no, you're using our student, you're a Northwestern startup, great, go for it. But it took a little bit of time to find the right person to say yes. So in hindsight, we probably just should have filmed it and not told anyone. But you can see all my PIs, grad students, as extras in the background. So none of those are actual employees.
That's awesome. Charlie, anything to add there? How long did it take you?
Yeah, I think similar time scale in terms of the amount of meetings and involvement. We had a group that they were, working in between the times that we had, and coordinating the shoot was important. That they were handling that. But to Jerry's point, finding the right location is really nice to have a proper background. And so in my case, we couldn't just go in. We were trying to get into the hospital to get like a live setting. That was tricky to get that done. And so what we ended up doing was finding a friend that had a physical training facility, and we used that space. But again, coordinating that, finding the right time where it worked for them, and we could get the right scheduling. It's something that you don't really think about, but it's going to add up in terms of your involvement to get it done.
Great. I want to make sure that we give our cohort ample time to ask questions. But before we go into official Q&A, and so this is cohorts, this is the time when you come back to the screen and use the raise hand button if you would like to eventually be called on live. But before we do that, I just want to generally ask, what tips and tricks did I not ask you about that you think these folks should know as they're getting ready for their 1-minute video?
If you're doing it for the competition, you have to make it general, because not everyone will be a physician or your target patient or somebody in industry. So I think get as many, non-industry people to hear your script as you can before you finalize it.
That's great. Charlie, Jerry, any generalized tips? And no is fine.
Yeah, I would just say have fun with it. I mean, I really enjoyed the filming. I hate like scripted filming and stuff like that, but when you get in front of the camera, it's just fun. It's an opportunity to like show everyone your personality, and when you're trying to sell your company, that's really, really important because hey, great, you have an awesome technology, but like ultimately, on the business side, like it's about relationships and personality and like enjoying the people that you work with or that you're doing business with. And that was really important to us when we were looking to hire people. This was actually a great tool for potential applicants to get to know Julie and myself a little bit before they even spoke to us on the phone. And actually, that's one of the things that one of the first things that a lot of our candidates referenced when they talked to us is that they had seen the video and they liked us or something like that. I don't know, but have fun with it because that'll make sure your personality shines through.
That's great. Excellent.